Hello, so we're gonna have this set up here. So we're gonna have a navbar, and then we're gonna have a basic kind of like navigation. So the main point of this is to show you how to set it up in such a way where it's kind of like works on enterprise level, because, well, the reason for this video is because when you do a small app, you can get away with basic syntax for Angular router. But if you're running an enterprise level app, you want to run it in such a way where it's scalable. So I'm going to show you how to do that specifically. So you see we have one pages index, we add all of our files in here, roots I suppose, and then this runs at the start of the app, and then that's it, all of your roots are covered. So the way it's wired is a little bit confusing, so I'll do it step by step, like literally from start to finish, but I'm assuming that you already have Angular knowledge, and this is advanced concept, so if you're a beginner at Angular, this is not the video for you. It'll be a while until you reach this kind of requirement to use syntax and a setup like this level. But I explain to you how it works, okay? So we have a router injected into Angular, our main module, okay? We then have an index function which sits inside pages folder. Now normally it's called index and you just import from index, but for simplicity, for explanation purposes, I call it pages index. Now this takes an argument which is your entire app, main module, as an argument. And then in here we do our config per root. Okay? So this is a home root. I'll give an example of a home root. So home root sits inside a folder. Well, let's go with about, because about already has a controller. So, okay, so this is about root. About has a core file where you create your root, which is in here. Again, I'm gonna do it step by step so that you will understand what exactly is happening, because right now it's jibber jabber, like, probably. So then we have the main file root, which points to the HTML template, which is here. Okay, and it also has a controller, which is basically a function, which comes from here. And then it's being, do you understand? So this is centralized. This is centralized file for your any page, for like about. So about has one, home has one, whatever, right? And it sits inside the folder, which is whatever the name of the page is. Here we are pointing to our HTML template and controller. Then we take this file. You can ignore this. You don't really need this here. Just delete this. Okay, we take this file and then we push this into, we import it into our index roots, and then we just add it. Do you understand? So the premise is that if you're creating on a page, you create a folder with a page name in it. I'm just debating. 1 second. I'm just thinking, should I do it? No, I'm not gonna create one extra ones to show you, because it's gonna be covered in the tutorial anyway. So the premise is very simple. When you're creating a page, you're adding a folder. Inside the folder, you have centralized file that points to the template and the controller. So this is like the Angular way of doing stuff. And then this page gets imported into your main app controller or file or whatever the hell you have it, and then you pass your then you run it in here and everything works. That's it. So do you understand? So this setup is set, and you don't worry about this. You just worry about the pages folder, and that's it. That's where all of your work is done. Everything else is already automatically calibrated for you, I suppose. Okay. So, okay. So let's start. Right. So you need a starting point, which is gonna be. Let me just find it 1 second. Okay. So go ahead and branch off this one. I'm gonna link it in the description below so you can use it. Put into YouTube. So I'm gonna have this branch and then a completed branch also in it. Why is it not copying? 1 sec. Okay, so now go ahead and branch it, and then call it whatever the hell you want, and then we start from the beginning. Okay, so this is your blank file. Honestly, you can just delete this. Data you don't need. Helper you don't need. Yeah, okay. README you also don't need. You can delete Favicon, but like leave Favicon because otherwise you're gonna get complaints. Alright, so now we have our thing, right? So okay, so now let's create a Angular module, right? So we do, so imports are gonna go here, and then we want const my Angular app. I call them const just to make sure I remember. Angular module my Angular app module. This probably main module. It's up to you. You can name it whatever you want to know. So this is going to be our dependency array, and then we want to probably create a controller just to make sure that it works, right? So controller my Angular app controller. Now I like to put the array thing. Well, honestly, we probably don't need this in here. And then let's test, make sure that it's working. Start it, and then let's create a scope variable real quick. Scope app title equals my Angular app. Okay. Well, we'll call it navbar. Okay. So now we need to bind it to our HTML template. You can put it in body, whatever is comfortable for you. Okay, it does make a big difference. So we want this ng controller. Now your enterprise setup is probably gonna be slightly different, but the backbone is going to be very similar. Because normally you have a compiler, but in this case, oh, it's saying that, okay, so we need to remove this as well. Because we deleted the CSS file, so we want to get rid of this. Okay, and now we want to make sure that our scope is working. What did I call it? I called it like so. Okay, so there we have it. So we know that the controller is working, everything is fine, we're good to go. One sec. Okay, so I think we stopped at the setup, right? So this is our app, this is working, so we need to put some, so this is the setup. Okay, so let's put a horizontal line, oopsie, like this, and then let's put a UL, and then we do list. So here we're going to put more. Here we're going to put our links to the pages, right? So this is what it looks like, but I mean, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter at the moment. So the next thing we need to do, I'm going to set up a very basic router, very basic version of it. Okay. So the first thing we do, it's out of the box. I'm assuming you have already imported the libraries. I mean, it's already inside of the repo that you cloned, so ng-root. If you're doing it from scratch, you need to make sure that you have ng-root min.js part of your library, and that it's imported in here, you see? Otherwise, it's just not going to work. This animate library is honestly kind of useless. I'm not using it, so you can kind of delete it, but I'll just leave it there because I don't want anything to break, you know? Okay, so now we created ng-root. So now we want to add our config, okay? So we go with config, and then we go like this. Then we go, I think, and then we need root provider, I think like this, and then here we have a function with this root provider, and that's our function, right? So I don't think we need to return anything, right? No, I don't think we need. We're basically stacking onto this router. So when we're gonna have home, if it's home, we want to do, let me just remind myself what the router syntax is, because I'm like a React developer, you know, I'm not really. Okay, so it's just a template URL is going to be, okay, so we need to create some roots. So we're going to close this. Let's create a folder called pages, and let's create a new folder called home, and inside home we're going to create a new file. We're going to call it home template.html, and then we're going to call this home like this. Okay, so now we just need to link to this thing. So app, where is it? It's inside app, pages, home dot template.html. I mean, naming is like up to you, you know, it's like completely up to you. Okay, so it's saying that injector has failed. Oh, that's because I forgot this thing here. Again, injector has failed. Why is that? Is it because of... I need to remind myself what the syntax is. One sec. Uno momento. Okay, I just copy and pasted the code from my... I don't know why it's working. Let me just try it one more time. Where did I make a mistake? I wonder. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. So we take our module, we write config, we have a bracket, we have square bracket, we write root provider, yes, then we write function with an argument for root provider, and then we write root provider, which is this thing here. Oh wait. So then dot when home. Oh, I think I forgot this. I think that was my mistake. I'm not gonna go back to video and watch it, like, it doesn't matter. Okay. Then we write this template URL app. So inside app we want pages, we want home dot cpl dot html. Okay. Alright, it's working. So we don't need this anymore. Okay, so now we need to put ngView where we want the view to be. So you can do it ngView like this, or you can just put ngView as a directive like this. But I don't know, I prefer the div ngView, honestly, like this. So now we have our home in here. So then let's create another one which we call about.cpl.html, and so it's going to be our about page. Alright, so let's create another when statement. When /about, whoopsie, /about template URL is going to be, let me just type it out real quick, pages about, yeah, there you go. Okay, so now we can manually change the pages. At the moment it's manual, right? So we can do about, or we can do home. Make sure you put this. Honestly, you can actually do this as well, like this. It will still work. Okay, now we need to create two links real quick. Links are straightforward. So we do a tags, a href equals. So it's going to be our home. And then here, like this, I think it's like this, and like this, I think. Let me just double check. Link creation, where is it? Well, let me just test this. If it doesn't work, then I'll go look at the notes. And we want another one which is about. Like so. Okay, so we should have two links now. Okay, so now we should be able to swap between them, right? Okay, so now it's changing. I'll probably leave this in here so we can kind of just navigate through it. Okay. What is this? Okay. Alright, so we've done our basic setup. So this is the way the standard router works. Okay, so the next evolution is probably to learn how do we stack so it looks something like this. So we want .config, and then here page 1, something like this. .config, page 2. Alright, and then we can stack so it will look like kind of like this to some extent. So you see now it's a little bit more scalable because you can come in here, you add a page, you go config, page 3. Okay? So now let's leave this thing in here. Let me just go back. Oh my god, like this, okay? So now let us move. Let's just do home page, okay? So in home page, what we're gonna do, we're gonna create a new file which is called home roots.js. Okay, let me just think one sec. Alright, so our goal in here, let me just uncomment this code real quick and do this probably so I don't get confused. Okay, so we want config, we definitely want this, and then we want root provider, and now we want home roots to be in here, like this. So this home roots should be from here, okay? Which means that we need, let me just think how to do it. Okay, I think it should be like this. Export. Well, let's do default export. Let's just do like this. Function home roots. We're gonna have root provider in here. Now root provider is gonna be passed. Remember, what all we're doing, effectively speaking, we're just copy and pasting this function here with only one. We're basically copy and pasting this part. So we can honestly just copy and paste it in here. Well, we need to, well, let's just uncomment this mumbo jumbo. We literally just copy and paste it, to be honest with you. And then we just need to name it. So home roots, I think, like this. Yeah, we just copy and paste the function from, I'm just gonna close this real quick. Yeah, we just copy and paste this function, and this is gonna be already inside. So we're replacing this, so we're replacing basically this when statement with the function with this, which is in turn just this. And then export default home roots. And now we just need to import it in here. Import, it's default import, so from, where is it sitting? It's in pages. Whoops. Pages, home roots. Remember, JS is very important, otherwise imports might not work. Okay, so it's already added. So the template URL is a relative path, so it's going to work. Okay, so now let's have a look at this bad boy. What is it going to say? Okay, it's not working. Something is not wrong. Cannot import outside of module. Okay, so the problem in here is that this has to be type module. Otherwise, when you're using a JavaScript file inside of HTML and it has imports and exports in it, it has to be a module. Otherwise, HTML template is going to complain. Okay, so now home should work. About we don't have, but home should work. Okay, so you see, now we have home done. So again, what did we do? We effectively took this function, copy and pasted it into a different file, exported it, and added this. You see, the starting file is the same, and then we just copy and pasted the function. So as opposed to writing this thing here, we wrote it in here and just added it in here, and that's it. It looks smoother. Now, so the second question is, all right, So how do we do about when it's already inside the function? Now the trick in here is that you don't have to stack when in here. You can just stack config like this. Config. Again, we write the same Shiza, which is root provider, like this. And then we're gonna stack about roots. So again, the same ding dong, which is we're gonna take this function, only we're gonna remove this part and just leave it with this part. But you'll see, 1 second. Let me just close all of this. So we create new file about roots.js. Okay, so we need this function again. This entire function. We want to do this, and we want to remove the home part from it, right? And we want to name it as well. We want to name it. I forgot about that. Okay. Okay. So about roots. Make it look nicer, and we want to export default about roots. Honestly, you can do syntax like export in here, export default like this if you want. It will also work. In our project, we don't even name it, we just export like this. But I don't like it because I think it's a very shitty practice. This is more like React style. I prefer React style, where you have default export at the bottom, everything else exported is at the top of the component. So this is kind of like a component in a way. Okay, so again, we want to import this thing from pages. Whoops. Okay, so we are doing about roots.js, like so. Let's just put this thing here. Okay, now let's test to see. One sec. Okay, so now about should also be working. Okie dokie, cool. So the final two stages would be to let me just think 1 sec. Okay, so let's do controller first. So we want this page to have a controller, right? So we want home control.js. So let's create a... Well, this is a standard function, right? So again, controller is just a standard function. So function home controller well, in this case, to be honest with you, well, I don't know, function home controller, I suppose. It's just a function basically. So we just need to put the scope here, because remember, scope is going to be provided from here. So we're basically like creating a function in here. Remember, like how you standard. Let me just do it in here real quick. So controller, let's just say console log home controller ran, and then let's just do, I don't know, scope home var equals home var to make sure it's working. So let's just delete this for the time being so we don't get confused. So now we need to make sure, okay, so now we can just put, oh, am I trolling? Yeah, I'm trolling. I'm in about, but I'm doing home. Right, so I am in the wrong place. I need to be in home. So again, same thing. Controller, function, scope is provided because it's a controller. It's automatically already injected. And then now we want the home template, and just to make sure it's working, so home var should be here, double thingies. Okay, so let's have a look. Is it working? Yeah, so home var is working, you see? So finally, normally you do not want to have this syntax where controller is a function. Honestly, I've seen it in here, I've seen it in here, like this function is just straight up taken and placed in here, like this. This is called home roots, home controller, like this, controller. I think the name is like this, right? No, the name is not like this. I think this should work. Yeah, so the second way to do it would be, I think, through an array. Now this is confusing syntax, but I'm just saying that sometimes you'll see it. I think this will also work, right? No, it doesn't work. Yeah, so basically just take the function and put it in here. So that's okay. And then final step is to take the function home control JS. Just take the whole function and put it into a separate file, and then export default home. Now again, remember, this is enterprise level stuff, because you'll be like, for small projects it's really a waste of time doing this stuff, because there's no benefit, right? But I'm talking about an enterprise level. This will be 2,500 lines. You want it to be, you know, separated. So you want to have home template in one place, controller in another place, and kind of have the main export that just handles everything in another place, because it can get very, very messy. From .js, remember to put your JS's, otherwise it's not going to work. And then this should work, right? Yes, okay, so this is working. So again, we just create a controller. Here's a function. You can put function here, but we are doing it in here. And when we just export it, then we import it, and then we'll put it in here. I know what you're going to be thinking, and I think, can we just do this and then just point to this? I tried it, it doesn't work. So that's the only way to do it. Okay, so now let's do the same for home. Again, I'll go through every single step. So we do controller, we set up a function, scope is already injected, we're gonna console log about controller run, oops, and we're gonna create something in the scope, about var, let's just create variable, about page var, just for the fun of it. Okay, so you don't think that syntax matter. You can call this anything you want. It's just a standard Angular scope variable, right? So we call this about page is running well. That's it. Now we want about template, and we want to insert the scope into here. Let's just do for fun like this, and then we put this into here. Okay, so now we have a look at our about page. There you go, there it is. About has run. Okay, so the next step, we want to clean up a bit more. we want to take this function, we want to move it somewhere else in the same file first. So here we want to name it, whoops, about controller, and we put it in here so it works. Again, still running. And then the final step is, okay, we want to have a controller in a separate file, about control.js. Where is it? There it is, there's the function. Slam it in here, export default, about controller, there you go, whoopsie, whoopsie, whoopsie. And then we want to import it. Whoopsie, 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 wrong one. Okay, so now we are, what are we doing? Yeah, so okay, so we are in here. So we moved about controller to a separate file, we import it. That's pretty much, it should be it, right? So home and about, everything is working. Okay, so the final step would be to... So you see we're stacking onto this thing here. So we want to create a function inside the pages, kind of like an index, where we pass this as an argument and then we just stack this stuff onto it and import in it. So this file, which is going to be your kind of main app file, is clean from responsibility of managing roots. So your roots and your pages are going to be in a different file, so which is going to be here. We're just going to create index, pages, main, JS. Normally this is called index, right? But we're just going to call it like this so you don't get confused, okay? So what do we need to do? We just need to move all of this code into there, right? So we want to move this. This will probably not be pages anymore. I'm just going to uncomment so you don't get confused. So I'm going to copy this and then I'm going to uncomment so you can see the relationship between them. It's like it's exactly the same. And then we want, well, let's create a function. So we're going to call function all pages. Argument is going to be our main app. And then we're going to start. So remember, main app. I'm just going to call this as it is, just as arg. So you don't get confused, okay? And remember, we are stacking this stuff onto it. So we just copy and put it in here, just like this. And then we want to replace this with our function. And put this thing as an argument into it, so it's exactly the same thing. And finally, we just need to import the function, which is gonna be import. What are we? Oh shit! We need to first export the function. Export default all pages like this. All pages function. Fn. There you go. From. So where is it? It's inside pages, and it's inside index, right? So it's like this. And then all of this should run. To make it nicer, normally it's going to look something like this, because you're going to have bazillion different pages. But you see that this is now centralized file for managing every single page you have. So you import a page, you create the root, you import the page, you create the root, you import the page, you create the root. Everything else is automatic, except for, of course, creation of the pages, which is basically folders. Well, just make sure that it's working, you know? Is it? Yeah, it's wah. Okay, so where is the problem? I forgot to put JavaScript, I think, in the import. Yeah, I forgot to put JavaScript. So now it should work. There you go, you see? So now it's working. So if you want to be completely... Oh, you probably... Well, that's it, pretty much. You know, like, that's... So, like, I don't know, you do a ticket, so now you need to create a... But you see how... Well, okay, let's say we're creating page called company. So you're creating ticket, somebody says, hey, create a company page for us, right? So what do you do? So we do probably home. Well, we need our company dot roots.js. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to create a... We probably want to create a function like this. So we want to create a root first. So this will be company roots when this is called company, we want template, which is going to be company, and then it's going to be company like this. Okay, so then we want to create an HTML file, which is going to be company dot tpl template HTML. So this is going to be our h1 company page like this. Okay, then finally we want to create a controller, company dot control JS, and then we want to put the function, the controller into, so it's probably going to be a function. Yeah, it's going to be just straight up function. So this is going to be called company, okay, log company controller run. We call this, let's say, company variable, and then company is now created. You can put whatever the hell you want in here, okay? So now we need to put everything into our roots, okay? So we need to import our controller, which is from here, from company controller. Make sure there is JS, otherwise it's not going to work. Whoops. So that's pretty much, your page is done. So now you need to import this thing into your thing in here, which is import company roots from company roots JS, and then we stack it, which is identical to this. Whoopsie, you don't want to put this thing, otherwise it's not going to work. So done, that's it. So now you have a new page which is called company. Right, so company, whoops, what is it doing here? Company roots that does not, okay, so there is a problem in our company roots.js, yeah, because we did not export default company roots. There you go. Okay, so now we're on company page. And finally, you want to probably put this into the your where's the navbar? Oh, it's inside the index. Oh my god. Oh my god. Ideally, you probably want this to be a component that just takes a property array, and then you just stack your roots in here. But again, like this part here, there are so many ways of doing it, honestly. Oh, forgot to put company var. Let's just put company. Company var is gonna be like this, like this. Is it? Yeah. So you see now we have the variable. So the only thing like in here would be the navigation bar, but I mean this tutorial is not really about navigation bar, it's about removing, it's about basically how to remove a root and create a folder specifically designed for managing your pages. And then that's pretty much it. Now remember that all the roots are sitting in here, like all of them. And your central repository for all your pages is inside pages folder, which is here. And then that's pretty much it. And from here you can do the magic of front-end AngularJS. Alright, take care, bye-bye.